Okay, people. ClickUp. ClickUp is not Notion, but it is so close, and I think it's the best box app that I have come across. And I will say I did swap using Notion for ClickUp for like a week. So let me explain why. A couple of things before we get into this video. The first being thank you for everyone that responded to the video that I put out a couple of days ago, asking you what sort of content you want to see in 2021. I will be doing a video going over all of the responses in the comments section and in the form, but I want to say thank you for everyone that did give their feedback. The second thing is next week, so it will be Sunday, the time you're seeing this, on the Notion Nerds YouTube channel. We will be interviewing, guest speaking with Layla, who does ClickUp consulting. So we will be going further in depth with Notion versus ClickUp with a ClickUp consultant that knows ClickUp much better than me. But that's enough said. Let's have a look at ClickUp. First things first, the structure of ClickUp is boxed. It is a boxed app in that you can't do as much customization as Notion. So when you're looking at ClickUp, you have these main tabs on the side, but this is the main structure that you're going to be looking at. So you have what they call spaces, which you can see here is content. Then you have a folder. Then you have a list. And inside the list, they call them tasks, but essentially these tasks are the equivalent of projects, because inside this task opens up, and then you have subtasks, and then you have checklists. So the hierarchy goes spaces, folders, lists, tasks, subtasks, and checklists. Now you can make this structure inside of Notion with databases relating them to themselves, but it's a little bit of a hassle. So this is nice that it's already preset as a box app. This does give a couple of limitations later on down the line, which I'll explain later on in the video. When looking at this ClickUp task, the same way I would look at a Notion project, you have all of the same information, it's just in different places. So as we go across the top in this ClickUp project, you can see we've got the status. Now this is the status and you can move it across here or you can change it where you want. And this is related specifically to the board view in ClickUp, and it would be the same. So this is like your select property in Notion. Then you have an assign property and you can assign a project to a person or multiple people, the same way you can assign tasks and subtasks to different people in your team or in your workspace, the same as in Notion. Then you have priority, which you don't have to set. Again, you can add that in Notion in whatever way you want. So all of these things are in Notion, they're just viewed slightly differently. Then you have the share option, exactly the same. Date created, which is the same as in Notion, but this doesn't have the same glitchy issues as with Notion. When you edit a page, sometimes Notion can change the date, which is mildly irritating, but I don't personally use that in Notion, but this is there. Something to think about with task priority is the task priority in ClickUp is either low, medium, high, and you can change those, but it's very much a manual process unless you set automations into that task priority, which ClickUp have in-app automations, but you are limited and there is a whole pay plan that you have to consider. Whereas in Notion, you can use a formula to work out that priority for you, so the automation isn't really needed because the formula does that for you inside of Notion. Now, this is something ClickUp has that Notion doesn't have at all, and this is time track. So this is an in-app time tracker. So you can push the start and then it will start the time, and then you can stop it and then it stops the time. You could manually put that information in, but you could do that in Notion as a Notion number property. But having this, if you track time consistently and quite often, you can do that inside of ClickUp, inside a project, inside a task, inside a subtask, or just generally tracking. And we'll get on to how you can generally add things in quite quickly in ClickUp a little bit later on. Then we have an estimated task time. Again, you could do this in Notion with a number property. You have a sprint points, and sprint points are specific to their paid plan, I believe, but sprint points are basically points that you get given for doing a sprint, whether that's for tasks or projects, however you've decided to map it out. And not all of these possibilities, not all of these features, I believe, are on the free plan in ClickUp, but that's something I will probably need to confirm with Layla when we speak to her on Sunday. I will add that on the free plan, you can use the sprint points and the sprint values. I believe it is the type of views that you would use the sprint values in, such as the box views and some of the other portfolio dashboards that you would need to pay for. But again, I'm going to confirm that with Layla. Then we have the date, and in ClickUp, there's actually some quite nice features with the date properties that you don't have in Notion. However, there are some things that Notion has that this doesn't have. So In ClickUp, you have a start date and an end date. We have that. You have times, that's fine. But there are recurring tasks. Now, before you go, yes, recurring tasks, there are limitations to these recurring tasks. And I'm not going to go into that in this video because they are very, very nuanced within the recurring tasks because there are so many different types of recurring tasks. But you can recreate every single one of the recurring tasks in ClickUp inside of Notion with a Notion formula, because I have done that myself. It does take time though, so if you don't want to spend your time making formulas, ClickUp has it for you. The advantage of using recurring tasks in ClickUp over Notion is it shows in the calendar view. So if you were to do a recurring task or a recurring project or whatever in ClickUp, it will show on every iteration in the calendar view, if you choose it to be. And you can make it a new task in itself, or you could make it just a recurring task where it just changes the date over and over. And again, you can do both of those things in Notion, but automatically you can do it in ClickUp. The limitation with the date properties in ClickUp is you can't do anything when it comes to reviewing dates or reviewing times or anything like that, because you only have the date property from what I've seen. There may be a way to work around that in ClickUp, but in Notion, you can add a formula property and then just work it out for you. In ClickUp, that's not currently possible, so my reviewing wouldn't be available in ClickUp in a logical sense or any way that I have found currently. If you do know a way of reviewing something in ClickUp, let me know in the comments below, but I believe that is currently a requested feature. Now, at the point of making this video, Notion still haven't released their API. There are unofficial APIs out there that work very, very well. They are slightly glitchy, but they work pretty well. But ClickUp has integration. So you can see here from every project, you can start a Zoom call, and that is linked with your Zoom account. So that's an integration. And there are loads of other integrations that you have with ClickUp and other software, such as Gmail and your calendar. That is already available with ClickUp. Again, very nice features. Watchers are like the guests you can have in a Notion page, but watchers actually get notifications about this project or task. So it's kind of like a client dashboard, but the individual will get notifications on the specific projects that they need. So you could rebuild this in Notion, but here it's right there. You just add the person that you need to for that project or task. When looking at the main bulk of the project or the task, you can do pretty much everything you can do in Notion with inside this box, but it works much slower. There are limitations to what you can see, and the linked databases don't work as fluently, if that's a word, inside of ClickUp as they do in Notion, because that's what Notion is based on. Notion is based doc focused. This is not doc focused. You could do it and you can do it, but I wouldn't advise it inside of here. You should probably use the docs that ClickUp have, which we'll go through later on in the video. I feel like this video is going to be quite long. Then, as you can probably see, you have this side, which is basically the activity, which again, you get in Notion, and you can make specific activities for tasks and things going on, but in ClickUp, it's already there. Something you can also do in ClickUp is add in custom properties. Similar to Notion, but Notion, everything is a custom property, whereas in ClickUp, you have some defaults that are already in there, and then you can add other custom properties later on down the line, depending on how you've set up the space. The progress bar is quite nice, but I did find a limitation with it in that every single checkbox or subtask or task you have is all rolled up into that progress. So you could have 5 checkboxes in 4 different tasks, then you've got 20 essentially different tasks that are going to roll up for that progress. And for me, sometimes I don't want to do all those checkboxes, so I won't tick them off. And it kept giving me a push-up notification. Oh, you haven't done these things. I know I haven't done those things. So it was a minor irritation because in Notion, it does it automatically. It doesn't give you push-up notifications. So if you don't want them, Notion's great. If you do want them and you need them for whatever reason, I personally found them quite annoying. You can turn them off, but it was just annoying having a lot of progress missing, even though I've actually done it, just wasn't showing it. Adding on to that, because in Notion you can formulate the progress how you want, you can weight different tasks, different projects in different ways, because that's the formula, that's what you're allowed to do. You can also change the way that you view the progress. So in ClickUp, when you view the progress in your calendar view, you get progress and then the percentage number. In a calendar view, I don't like to see the number, I prefer to see an emoji color because I'm more visual in that sense. And in ClickUp, you can't do that. On top of this, which kind of relates to the date property as well, I couldn't find a way on having a countdown of how long I have until the task or the project is due. In Notion, I have a formula that tells me you have 1 week and 2 days to do this, and then the progress next to it. I can't do that in ClickUp, and that's a big part of my dashboard and what I want to see when I'm actioning tasks. Then you can see you can add tasks in here, add subtasks, add attachments, and add checklists. Now there are templates inside of ClickUp, which we will go to now. So templates in ClickUp don't work the same as in Notion. In Notion, you can have a template of a block, or you could have a template page in a database. In ClickUp, you can have a template for anything. You could have a templated checklist, a templated subtask, a templated task, a templated list, a templated space, and a templated folder. So you can right-click, I believe, and then go into templates. The templates for me in ClickUp, even though you have all of that flexibility, were actually really, really annoying. Basically, whenever you have a template in ClickUp, the template is its own project, but it isn't saved anywhere other than in the save file. So when you want to edit a template, you have to apply the template to an active project or a project you've made, then change that project, then save that project as a new template to override the old template. Or you need a list of the templates that you have. Now, if I had a list of all the templates I had in Notion, it would be massive. And that's what I found in ClickUp. Every time I wanted to change a template slightly, I either had to make the task or make the project and then go in, and then it was just a hassle. And because the small things I change in my templates, if maybe that's a question I've changed or a task I've changed or a link I've changed, it became really annoying. So if you use a lot of templates in Notion, finding a workflow in ClickUp that doesn't have the same flexibility as templates, that could be irritating. So you can see what I had to do in my personal page was have a template page. And inside this template page was just a blog template, a video template, live stream. You can see that. And I did have more, but I've got rid of them now because I was playing around with different things. While I'm in this view though, I will say this is very nice to be able to see essentially that's the checklists, that's the subtasks, and that's very nice. But again, you can do that inside of Notion with a formula or a relation or in a list view. So this is very similar to a list view. I mean, this is the list view in ClickUp, and it's very similar to the list view in Notion, but this list view is, it's a combination of list and table, so you can have multiple things in here. Looking at the calendar view in ClickUp is better than the calendar view in Notion for multiple different reasons. The first reason being you have a list view next to the calendar view. Now that on its own isn't like mind-blowing or amazing or anything like that, but it's already there and you don't have to set it up. And then you have the overdue. So you have essentially a linked view of your tasks specific to this either list, folder, or what's the other one? List, folder, space. So you have that already here. You don't have to set it up again because it's a boxed app. So you don't have to create all these dashboards. It's already there for you. But the biggest thing in the calendar view in ClickUp is if you go to the top, you can see you've got a day view, a 4-day view, a week view, which I know everyone wants in Notion, and a month view. And these are the shortcuts for it. So inside of ClickUp, this is the app of ClickUp you're seeing, you have keyboard shortcuts for almost everything everywhere. So if I want the week view, I can push W on my keyboard and it goes to the week view. There's your time blocking. If you want the day view, there's the D, there's the day, and it's already there. It's all done. So this was very, very nice when planning things out. Something else to add, let's go back to the month view by pushing M. Love that. Now if you have a look at this calendar, we have colors. And even though I'm not a... No, tell a lie. I do like colours. I was going to say I don't like colours, but I do like colours. Those of you that have seen my channel, hello, my room is orange. I love colours. But you can see colours in the calendar view, and you can change those colours depending on specific things. So you can see colour by status, colour by list, or colour by custom field. So you can change the colour of the project or of the task depending on something else, which is very nice when you want an overview of just this calendar. I personally would probably do that inside the everything view. So if you see at the top here, you have an everything, and the everything is basically your dashboard. So for me on my Notion page, I have my task list and then my calendar, and that's all of the tasks from all of my dashboards, all of my areas everywhere put into one place. In the everything view, that is what it is. This is a list of everything. As it says, this is a list of everything that's going on. You've got all your projects, all your sub-projects, all your checklists, and everything that's going on. You can see these are the statuses of these projects inside this folder. I believe it's a folder. But you can see we've got different colors, we've got loads of organization, and then we can go to the calendar view. So we now have a calendar view of everything. You still have all the filters and sorts that you do in Notion, so it's not like they don't have that. And you can see the different colors here. So you can see these are different colors from my actual calendar. So this is linked with Google Calendar and all of the things that's going on in ClickUp. That's the integration, which is very nice that ClickUp already has and Notion doesn't have. At this point, I feel like I'm just selling ClickUp and saying Notion's bad, but I will get to why I've picked Notion in a minute. But before we get there, I will show you some of the other views. So this is the board view. Something in the board view in ClickUp that Notion doesn't have is you can scroll down one side specifically and it doesn't scroll down the whole thing. A very nice feature. And again, you can add pictures just like a Trello type board if you want. I don't use that. You have all the other options. You've got all the dates and everything that you would normally show in a board view or in a gallery view in Notion. And then if we go into add views, you can see loads of other views that they have. This is a map, which is great for seeing where people are working and things like that. Not going to be useful if you're an individual, but if you're a team, this could be useful. Activity, this is kind of like an activity log, which you can make in Notion, so that's not a big thing. A box, this is more for reviewing your team activity, tasks done, projects done, things like that. Again, you can do that in formulas in Notion to make it customize how you want to see it all, but it's there and already done for you. Again, ClickUp Box app. The Gantt chart view, which we recently got the timeline in Notion, so it doesn't matter that you have that because we got the Notion timeline view. I mean, those of you that have watched my video on the timeline view, it's cool, it's nice, but I personally don't use it. Teams, this is really useful with the Gantt chart view. The Gantt chart also shows dependencies, which I'll go through in a second. Mind map view, not something I use. Table view, I don't understand why you'd want the table view over the list view, but it's there anyway. The timeline view, which is different to the Gantt chart view, which was actually interesting to see. So if we go add view, let's have a look. So you can see this timeline view is not the same as a typical Gantt view because it's not, and it has all of the things listed at the top. So these are all the tasks that I've got to do for the day, and they sort of go down in order. So this for me would be my preference over the Gantt chart view because you don't have this massive long list. And that is my main gripe with the Gantt chart view. So this timeline view in ClickUp is a very nice, personally, this is my personal opinion, it's a very nice view of a Gantt chart, because you can see what's going on, but you don't have the same flexibility with seeing all of the other information on there. But again, I'm still learning things in ClickUp because there is so much to the app. That is something that I will say Notion and ClickUp have in common. There is loads to learn when it comes to the applications. Going through the last view, the workload, again, that's great for the teams, but not really needed for individual, but you could use it, don't get me wrong. Now, before I move on to some of the limitations ClickUp have and Notion just takes over, there are a couple of things such as dependencies, which you can see in the Gantt chart view. So tasks can be dependent on one another or projects dependent on one another. And this is nice for longer projects, but when you're using dependencies with templates, I'm not going to explain all of the issues, but there are just bugbears. So you'll have dependencies related to templates and tasks related to numerous different tasks that you didn't intend, and that's just some of the, I don't know whether it was bugs or something I was doing wrong, but there was a whole issue with dependencies and templates linking together. Then you have automatic date moving, which essentially means if you move the due date of the task, the subtasks will then automatically be moved. So as an example, if I have a video due Sunday and the tasks were due Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday the week before, if I move the project down 1 week, i.e. next week, the task will move with it. And you can do that inside of Notion, but it was something that I saw in ClickUp and then applied into my Notion space. If you're interested to see how I did that, make sure you subscribe to the channel because I will be doing a video on my new setup with that incorporated in a week or so time. Now, moving on to the next things that ClickUp have, you have this chat page. And this chat page is basically its own page for certain people to chat. So you could have basically it's a Slack channel inside of ClickUp. So that's very nice. And you can chat inside of tasks and tag people inside chats, inside activities with tasks and projects. So you can link people all over the place, which is very, very nice. Then you have the doc, and the doc is the main thing that started pushing me back to Notion. So the doc inside of ClickUp is their version of a wiki style thing, but it's separate to everything else that's really going on. So when I go to the sidebar and have a look at doc, you can see this is the doc area. This is basically ClickUp's version of Notion. And if let's add a new doc. And you can see this looks very, very familiar. And you have all of the same functionalities, as you do in Notion, and you do have more formatting options. But when it comes to linking this doc to a task or a project or a subtask or anything like that, then it becomes quite clunky from what I've found, because this is very much a separate thing. So if you want to take notes inside of a doc and link that to a task or project, it doesn't work very well from my experience. And if you are going to take notes on a task or on a project, I would do it inside the project window that we saw earlier, not in a doc. Having said that, this doc could be useful for SOPs or for wiki-style information. So I would see this in ClickUp as a wiki-style separate public page thing to everything else. And separating docs, tasks, and projects in ClickUp makes sense. But when it comes to note-taking, if you're going to note-take, you would note-take in a doc. If you're going to note-take in a doc and then make a task or a project from that, then it becomes clunky. So if you take a lot of notes, I found ClickUp to be quite irritating, because when I'm taking notes, I want to take lots of notes, or I want to embed things and have a look and bounce around all over the place inside of my notes. Well, when I was taking longer notes, now I'm taking smaller notes, it's less text, but there's more information in there, and I have my linked databases inside of Notion that link to whatever the note is, so I can go to task, go to flashcard, go to projects, whatever. Inside of ClickUp, you can't do that very well, and it functions quite slowly, from my experience. So if you're not a big note taker and you're just going to take small notes, then just do that inside the task or the project or the event. All the other options inside of the docs work exactly the same as you would expect from Notion. So you have a private space, shared space, assigned to me, and all. So all of the second sidebar is the same as in Notion. As I move up to the home, again, that was a shortcut. I would use H on the keyboard. You can see this is the home page. So this is like a second dashboard. So you have the everything page inside of here, which is for all of your tasks and projects. Then you have the home, and this gives you a bigger overview. So these are all your lists that you've been active in. These are your dashboards, which I'll get to in a minute, and I don't like them. Hint, hint. And then you have your docs, which as a team could be nice. But again, I don't like the friction between the docs and the tasks and projects. That's my personal preference. Then you have the tasks and trending and comments and everything else, and I didn't see much of a use in them, but I'm an individual, not a team. This is my inbox, and again, because it's a box app, it's automatic. I can push I and go straight automatically into this inbox, so I can see all of the tasks that I need to do for, well, it was a while ago, but these are all the tasks that I needed to do. Then I have next, and I have done, so there are loads of other things in this inbox, and again, I can push it straight from the keyboard, so I'm going to go home, and I'm actually going to go to notifications next. Notifications in ClickUp, to start with, if you don't change the notifications, will drive you mad. Because it will notify you everything. Every time a task is changed, a status is changed, something's added, it will notify you. So make sure you go into your settings if you are going to use ClickUp and change the settings for notifications, because they drive you mad. But having notifications for everything, and you can choose what you have notifications for, again, that watch a little eye thing in the top of a task or project, you'll get notified for it. So in Notion, you'd have to tag someone for them to be notified. In ClickUp, you can choose the settings and they get notified for it. So again, for a team and business, this is amazing. This is awesome. I love the notifications, as long as they're sorted. Otherwise, it could be kind of irritating. Now moving down to the dashboards, this was really disappointing for me. I'm not going to lie. This was disappointing because even though these dashboards are mildly useful, essentially what you can do is you create a widget, and the widget gives you a view of a list, a calendar, or any of those views that you have inside your tasks. So they could be tasks, projects, a box, a review, anything inside a dashboard. You could make different dashboards for different people, so you can see that stuff. But the interaction from this dashboard is quite limited, so it's not quite the same functionality as the home or the inbox as the task. So this is more of a viewing space, I think, than an interaction space, because I just want to be able to tick, yes, done, but you've got to push it and then go into it and then actually move it. I mean, yes, that's only one click, but still, I just want to go done. But that's just a very small friction point. For me, that's something you could definitely get over. And there are loads of other things to ClickUp, just like in Notion. I may do a further exploration of ClickUp as well later on. But the last thing I do want to mention is this quick add task thing, the notebook. This is nice, but again, this brings me back to the main irritation I have with ClickUp compared to Notion. In Notion, I can make anything the way, I can give anything its own status. So it can be a note, it can be a task, it can be a project, it can be a goal, it could just be something that's there. Inside of ClickUp, it's either writing inside of a task, or a task. There is no other difference really, so it's very intentional and action focused, which could be great for you, but it removes some of the flexibility of playing around with things and just noting stuff down. You can note stuff down, but it either wants you to delete it, or you're going to have to save it somewhere, but you can't really store it anywhere. There is a limited storage system, and because you can't have that review date, reviewing information becomes quite challenging inside of ClickUp. So if you're going to review your notes, or review your tasks, or review projects, or review anything that you've done in the past, finding things in your archive can be quite challenging if you don't know what you're looking for. Search is still available, but it's quite hard if you don't know what you're looking for. Now, to keep this video from going much longer, because I realise I've just gone straight into ClickUp and not really spoken much about Notion, if you want to learn more about what I use Notion for, make sure you check out some of the other videos on my channel. I got playlists all over the place. But the reason I picked Notion over ClickUp is because templates inside of Notion are much easier to use and much easier to change. The dashboards inside of Notion are more flexible, so I can change what I want to see and where I want to see it. I don't have to go looking for a specific folder or list or project. It's right there. The reviewing ability inside of Notion is much better than in ClickUp from what I've seen, because the formulas. And the formulas are also another reason that I picked Notion over ClickUp. Because using formulas, I can condense loads of information into one little view. Whereas in ClickUp, you'd have to make the views, which requires more clicking. ClickUp clicking. Which requires more clicking between views. Yes, you can optimize your space, but to get all of the information from what I've seen, to get all of the information I have inside of my Notion dashboard, inside of ClickUp, it just gets very, very clunky going between all of the places from my experience. But maybe that's me not having used ClickUp enough. And the final reason, and probably the biggest reason for me staying with Notion, is I understand the application and it works for me. Like, it works for me. If the system ain't broke, don't try and fix it. So there's very little that I can do in ClickUp that I can't do in Notion, but at this current point in time, there aren't friction points in Notion that ClickUp would solve, and that is the main reason I don't move to ClickUp. If, however, later on down the line, I find a friction point in Notion that I can't work around or solve, that hasn't happened yet, and with the API coming out, I imagine most of the things that ClickUp have over Notion will sort of disappear. But if something does come up in Notion as a friction point and ClickUp does it, then I will move over to ClickUp. Now, if you're looking at both these apps and you don't know much about Notion, you don't know much about ClickUp, and you don't have a system that's currently working for you, then go with ClickUp because it's already built for you. It's a boxed app, and it will help you figure out your system, work out your system, and everything's there for when you need it. If you know exactly what your system is and you know how to optimize it for yourself, and you have the time and the patience to build something inside of Notion, then do it in Notion, because Notion gives you much more flexibility, especially when it comes to linking notes, tasks, projects, etc. Question of the day: how important is an API inside of your productivity apps? Let me know in the comments below. How do I outro this? Watch one of these two videos and I'll see you there. That was so bad.